Okay, folks, this is the companion video to our episode 47 where we discussed the total release solution. I'm going to go over a couple things that we mentioned in the video and just try to follow along. Email us if you have any questions. But one of the things I mentioned on the podcast was checking your release for function. And I'll show you what I'm talking about right here. If you're talking about a release of any kind, you want to check it for its function, make sure everything's working, that it's releasing normally, no issues with it. When I told you to check it with a piece of string, or in this case a shot trainer, all you need is a little loop of string like this. Hook it on and try it. See if when you pull it, it's not letting go. Fire. You see, it'll fire normally. In this case, there was no travel in this release. This is one of my new Carter releases that I just got. New cool color they came up with. But this is brand new, so this hasn't really been set up yet. But you test it for its function. Same applies for a hand release, a wrist release. Either way, you got to test it. Now, this is an older release to show you exactly what I'm talking about. Normally, they should close and open with no problem. But remember I said, if you had it, used it for a while, or it's hand-me-down, make sure the operation is sound. So this one, you can see it doesn't snap back automatically. It's very, very slow. You're not hearing clearly lock closed. And that can all present problems. So if I go here and I put it on, it'll fire, yes, but I want to make sure that it's operating normally. In this case, it's sticking. It's probably got some rust inside. This particular one's over 30 years old. But I can go here and I can see if it'll go off. In this case, it's not working very well, but it's not letting go, and that's okay. That's all we want. So test it with just a simple little piece of string like this. Nothing special. There's a piece of D-loop I tied. You can tie pretty much anything. If you don't have D-loop laying around the house, a very common thing to use is the lampshade material that you'll find in your local home store as a replacement or online. It's very easy to work with. Now, this is a shot trainer. Like I said, this is what you can use for most testing. But again, you can substitute this without having to buy one of these and get something like just a simple piece of rope. That's all it is. I use this because I can simulate my draw length, but you can also do that with a piece of rope by just making sure that you cut it to your draw length so it simulates your stance and position exactly like when you're shooting. That's how you get complete practice, because it is simulation. Okay, so we were talking about the release position. In this case here, I have a true fire release, and like I said, when you're pulling back on an index finger release, you want to have your finger up here out of the way, and you want to pull with your shoulder. What you're not doing is you're not pulling with your hand, because remember what I said, if you're grabbing it by the barrel of the release, which this is where the barrel is, over here. If you're pulling it like this, you're making a fist. What will happen is when you're under tension, first it's going to slide back, okay? And then you're going to try to reach over to your trigger. Well, what happens a lot of times is when you go to reach that trigger, some of that tension lets go. From here, it may slide forward a little bit. Whatever is going to break your concentration. But the bigger problem with wrist releases like this and index finger releases like this is that when you release that tension, you'll slide back. Now you're trying to just barely make contact with the trigger. As you can see, I'm not really making a lot of contact with that trigger there. Ideally, when you're firing these, you should have it not in the first knuckle, but the second knuckle. So you see it fits like that. And now I have complete control over it. But in order for that to fit that way, when I'm first sizing it, I have to make sure that it's almost exaggerated back. Okay? So you put it on, you make sure it fits, because remember, any wrist release, because of the strap, it's going to move up a little bit when you get to full draw and you have tension under there. So you want to make sure it fits right. Okay? What you can do is put a sweatband under here and then put this around it. It helps it to stop from moving. But like I said, you want to make sure you're engaging with that second knuckle. So right here like this. And you're pulling back, your hand is completely dead. So as your hand is dead and you're pulling back into motion, you're going to see here, I'm pulling back, okay? I'm pulling back. My hand is completely relaxed. If I made a fist, it's going to slip out. because I'm trying to hold the barrel. I'm not holding the barrel. I have my finger above, completely relaxed, but you notice I can put it behind it if I want, but I find it more comfortable to put it above, and here's why. When I go and I'm ready to fire and I'm ready to engage my shot, all I got to do now is move my finger over, and suddenly I'm in the right position. I'm not reaching for anything. I'm just flipping it over, like you see there. So if I've set it right, and if I adjusted it right, everything is fine. When I'm actually firing, okay, you'll see here, all I'm doing is I'm pulling with my shoulder. And again, I'm on a table here trying to demonstrate this, but when you're pulling with your shoulder, as you pull back, you're just leaving your finger dead on there. The weight and the pull automatically is going to set it off. Hard to describe in a video. I'm going to have another video put together in a short time. I just got to find someone to be the model for it. But when you're hooked on, just going to let it go. Okay? You have control. If for some reason I decided shot's no good, I stop the pressure I'm putting on. What then happens is I can slide my finger right back on here. I can wait till the shot is correct, drop it right back. See, here, 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 here. If it was back here, got my fingertip on there, barely getting on there, sometimes just the act of you, because you're hanging on with dear life to try to keep onto that trigger, just the act of trying to get it off there, you hang up, it might fire it. So we want to be in that second knuckle for, again, complete control to make your total release solution work for you and be completely controllable. Now, what I mentioned with these trigger releases like this thumb activated one, is the position of the thumb barrel. So this is a brand new one out of the box, and they usually come in the right position sometimes. But for each hand, there's a different way where it's going to fit you. Okay? So I'm going to take this one here, show it to you like that, and you see where the thumb barrel is. I can rotate this thumb barrel in or out. And what I want to do is I want to rotate it to the point so that when I'm at full draw, it's as far in as this is possible. And what I like to do is actually have the kids and my other students find it so that their finger fits right there. So now you can see it's sitting right in here. It's not in the tip of my finger. It's right here inside the nook where my palm meets my finger, where it's coming out, that little section there. What that does is it promotes my hand being completely straight and completely relaxed. I can put it in that position. Now, when you're drawing, okay, I usually have them draw like this, finger on top. Some people draw like this, but it can get hooked up here on the button. So I draw a finger on top. Draw back. See how easy it is to get right into position again? Again, it's right there. So let me just load this for a second. I'll show you what I'm talking about. Hand is relaxed, and all I'm doing is putting pressure on this ring finger as I'm pulling back. So I'm leaving everything in place. As you see, it just went off with very little effort. We're going to put a string on this now and show you how it works under tension. Okay. There. I've got it in. See how fast that went off? This thing is not set very light either. But here, I'm pulling, right? As I'm pulling, I just left my thumb exactly where it was. The rocker motion of your finger, the ring finger pulling, as you're pulling with your shoulder, is very natural. You're pulling with your shoulder, that just goes off. Meantime, it allows your hand to be consistently in one position and not have any kind of variance. As long as your hand, remember, everything's connected. So the hand is relaxed, the forearm is relaxed, the shoulder is relaxed, and you're pulling in a rear motion. What will happen is as you pull, boom, because remember, you're pulling around. You're not trying to pull straight back because you're pulling it out of the socket. You are pulling around. Well, guess what? That puts pressure on the ring finger. It goes off. But at any time that I want, I'm able to stop the shot. Now, it may seem overly simplified the way I'm explaining it, but this was not meant to be a very long video, like I said. It's the companion to the podcast. But, again, position, position, position.